hello.
Left tick. Well, someone gave away his hat, so...
Alright, you can hear me in the stream, right?
You're actually really quiet. Let me see if I can adjust the volume.
Let's check mine. How's it going, Matthew?
10 out of 10, baby.
Hell yeah.
There we go. Now you're loud and clear.
Alright, sounds good. Alright, so we have three things left to do before we move into the end game. First, we're gonna meet people we haven't met yet.
Hey, Tequila! Good to see you. How's business? How's the whole reality situation treating you? So what's happening? Yeah, Tequila Sunset. How are the, high-concept, reality-based adventures proceeding?
He says it like it's obviously your name. Like you call someone Billy Brunel or leader of the 4th Street Gang. Good. These people know your true name. Looks like it has preceded you, Mr. Sunset. More on that later.
I am the law. People tell me I'm a cop, I'm getting used to that.
It's good to hear that you're on top of things. Talking about used to, did you know that I used to be a real mover and shaker? Sadly, things aren't going that well in Idiot Doom Spiral Land. Haven't found those keys yet, haven't won that great piece of ass back. No word from my business buddies.
This guy's your buddy. You feel it immediately. You belong to an organization, a fraternity of drunks. Idiot Doom Spiral, huh? This is bound to be a good, high-concept conversation. At last.
Can't really remember seeing any women after losing my keys.
It's a touchy topic. He hasn't got laid in ages. He really has no idea who this Ruby is, sire.
We are saving the world.
Please don't go. Don't go.
Okay, we're drinking. We're drinking alcohol. That's what we're doing. I tried to save the world once, a long time ago, with enterprise, creativity, and willpower. But that didn't work out. So now, it's a pirate's life for me. It's you. You're Tequila Sunset. We've met before. Don't you remember? Aha. Do you want to know how Tequila Sunset came to be?
Tequila Sunset. Something ominous there.
You think you feel bad now. Wait till you've heard the story.
No. You need the wisdom.
Let me take a sip to moisten up my cords. Tequila Sunset rolled into Martinez last Friday. And by Tequila Sunset, I mean you. The man, the myth. Hey, let's not jump ahead of ourselves. This is your story. Stop interrupting. You got here on Friday to solve a case, hoping to be the early bird who gets the worm. And by the worm, I mean the buzz. Because as far as I know, all you did was get piss drunk. Word on the street is you went around the local hostel telling people that you're a police officer, and that it would be really fucked up if you shot yourself in the head right in front of them. That's pretty high concept, if you ask me.
Jesus.
It is.
Thanks, conceptualization.
Does that sound like something you'd do? Yeah, probably. The lieutenant's brow is furrowed. He's listening as casually as he can.
It was a late Saturday night when we, the Union of Moribund Alcoholics, were getting our drink on. Nothing remarkable about this. We get our drink on 24/7. Makes everything warm and glowy. I trust you know the feeling. One moment we hear the sound of a motor carriage revving up somewhere on the plaza, followed by a series of dings and bangs.
Do you remember the sound of wood cracking? The billboard?
Naturally, loud noises pique the interest of anybody owning a pair of ears. That's just the reality we're in. Anyway, there was a brief silence, a gasp of silence, if you will, followed by a real commotion. We heard the carriage careening towards the coast at top speed. Sounded like someone jumped the canal. We grabbed our brewskis and rushed to the jetty. Never underestimate the speed of an alcoholic.
3 men are standing on a wooden platform extending out from the shore of a dilapidated fishing village. Their cheeks red, spirits high, beers in hand, eyes glazed over.
What we saw was a sight to behold. A beat-up police carriage containing you. Right there on the beach, you revved the engine and screamed at the top of your lungs, "The time hath come!" So, naturally, being the curious cat I am, I asked what time hath come. To which you replied, "The time hath come for Tequila Sunset, the end of all things."
Say nothing is more dignified that way.
After which, your reality contracted. You jammed the pedal, plowed right off the jetty, and through the ice. We ran towards the ice whilst you crawled your way out, miraculously unhurt, covered in seaweed and shit, like some kind of sea monster. When we finally got there, you were sitting on the beach crying. You said that your badge and uniform were in the car. It was too late to get in there, though. The carriage had sunk too deep. Recognizing a brother in need, we offered our condolences and invited you to party with us, which you naturally agreed to. We asked about the whole Tequila Sunset thing, and you told us it was your name now and insisted that we all call you that from then on.
Yeah, well, my real name's Harry.
No, that's just what your mother called you. Your real name is Tequila Sunset. Just embrace it, brother. Ours. It was an all-night drink-a-thon. Then, at some point, I think it was Sunday morning, you got belligerent and wanted to talk about Revacholian women.
Oh, God.
How they're beautiful and also whores and so on. How one of them fucked you real bad. After a short while, you crossed the event horizon, looked sullen, got up, and left without saying anything.
Wow, that's quite a story.
Hi, Kim.
Yeah, I bet Tequila's a fucking legend around the precinct. You must be proud to work with him.
If you only knew.
Is there anything specific about this person?
You were pretty vague about it, but you kept saying you got fucked real hard, and that we've all been fucked too.
Please, don't open that door.
No one's fucked me. I do the fucking around here.
Abigail!
It seemed pretty painful, to be honest with you. If I had to guess, I'd say you're still working through some shit. Beside your gun and your badge, you said something about your hope or heart or something. To be honest, the details are a little hazy. In retrospect, I guess you lost your motor carriage too? That's a big one.
Yeah.
You told us that they were a bunch of fucking losers whose main interest was cramping your style.
It's more like you were cramping theirs.
No specifics, though. It was more about you that night. You were the star of the show.
Should we talk about politics?
Yeah, you kept talking about how the coal mine owners were fucking us all over, just like that woman fucked you. I didn't agree with you, by the way. The spectral hand of the market makes sure everyone gets exactly what they deserve.
Well, what kind of cop I was?
You kept calling yourself a goddamn superstar who'd cleared 501 cases.
As you've already determined, the actual number is just over 200. But what's a little embellishment between friends?
No thanks to the squares at the precinct, as you put it.
Did I say anything about the case?
Yeah, you said it was no biggie and that you'd solve it in no time. And that you didn't need anyone to do it. You're doing it solo now.
A lot of cops go solo and hermit once they reach that level of alcoholism.
It's not meant as a joke. He's sorry for the hermit cop.
It's a hard thing for a man to confront his past. That's why I avoid mine at all costs.
Seem like you're characterized by your storytelling ability. Can you tell me another one sometime?
Whoop-de-doo. So now I'm a fucking storyteller. Right. Why not? Better than a beach bum.
Want to tell me how you became the idiot doom spiral?
It depends, really. Are you willing to help me out?
The gleam in his eyes and the slouch in his posture is so incredibly familiar.
I don't want it, man. I need it. Can't tell stories without it. Dry stories are boring, you see? So, have you got anything for good old idiot doom spiral? A bottle for a story. Seems fair to me. Not much, but it will do.
Hey, Spiral Boy, you gonna share that?
Don't call Abigail!
Shut up, guys. I'm telling a story here. Something happened to you. Something happened to me, too. My actual name is George. But around
All right.
here, you are.
Strap in for this story because it's fucking nuts.
I was once a reasonably high net worth individual. A founder / junior partner at a high concept creative services agency. When my story begins, I had just landed a major contract with an insurance firm. I used the profits from my agency to finance what I called a cultural incubator. Abstract value generation, value per person, high concept stuff. I developed the paradigm, worked within the paradigm, but the burden of leadership weighed heavily on me. So I went jogging every so often to keep myself sane. 22 full-time employees, an all-star team, a potentially historical set of individuals. Worrying about them often kept me up well into the morning hours.
I could probably use a good run myself.
It helped, truly. With my trusty Sansaric Lycra tracksuit, I felt like I could conquer the world. But now dreams are worn thin, much like my tracksuit.
What happened?
One day I left on my evening run. As you may know, it's impossible to clear your head when you're distracted by the sound of keys jangling in your pockets.
His eyes are clouded, his dilated blood vessels encircling his irises like stinging brambles. His eyes are your eyes.
So I removed the key ring and put the keys for the front gate and the apartment into different pockets to stop the jangling, you see. At least, that was the plan. I was halfway done with my usual lap when it started to rain. The reality situation became very wet, very quickly.
Go on.
I made my way back home and discovered that I didn't have the key to the front gate. I'd mixed it up with the key to the letterbox, which was useless. Naturally, the situation required me to climb over the gate, which I did. There was no climbing down because I slipped and landed on my ass.
Ouch.
Ouch, indeed. Reality was looking rather grim just then. Me lying on my ass in a mud pit in the middle of a heavy shower. But when life knocked me down, I always got up. So I made my way across the yard. Standing in front of my apartment door, fumbling with my pockets, I realized that I'd also forgotten my apartment key.
You've got to be shitting me.
I wish I were, Tequila. I wish I were. Instead of my apartment key, I'd taken the key to the office.
Alright, so what happened next?
I rang my neighbor's buzzers. It was late, and most of them didn't even answer. Those who did assumed I was trying to sell them something and hung up before I could even explain the situation. People are naturally wary of ad men, you see. One moment someone chats you up, 5 minutes later you've bought a box of edible lingerie and a strap-on. I don't begrudge them, especially since I was known to be one of the best.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Just then, I experienced a moment of clarity. I still had the key to my office. I could wait out the storm there. But when I reached my office, I remembered that I'd asked one of my producers to change the locks that day. And since I hired only the best, he'd already done it, and I couldn't get in. Anyway, long story short, life spiraled out of control. I haven't gotten into my apartment for years, and my girlfriend left me because she didn't want to date a homeless man. The company, well, you see where I'm going with this. So, now you've heard my tragic tale. What do you think? Like nothing you've ever heard, huh?
Wait, is that it? I feel like there are some steps missing.
Tequila, I've thought about this series of events for a long time. If there was anything else to it, I would have thought of it by now.
Why didn't you go to the authorities?
Well, at one point they came to me, but, you know, I didn't have any ID on me, so they tossed me in jail for 2 days. I can't say it increased my faith in the RCM. No offense, gentlemen.
You do realize all of this is your own fault.
I don't remember you being such a dick before, Tequila.
I love it. He blames losing everything on him forgetting his keys one time.
That doesn't mean you're wrong, though. Anyway, that was all the tale one bottle gets you. Almost empty, this one. Good fucking question, Tequila. If I knew the answer, you think I'd be hanging out on a beach in this formerly premium but now extremely dirty two-piece Lycra tracksuit? I used to own my reality situation. My business buddies and I had our own creative services agency. I had a nice apartment, an even nicer piece of ass. But somehow it all got away from me.
Because I forgot my keys one time.
Now I can't hang on to anything. Just last week I stole this nice new jacket, but then I lost it too. The only things I haven't lost are these two drunks.
You of all people should empathize with this. Perhaps this lost jacket is something you could help with?
My fellow members of the Union of Moribund Alcoholics? They're exactly what they look like.
Hey, Tequila! You want to buy some speed?
Shut the fuck up, Rosemary. He's a cop, remember?
I thought he was a cool cop.
Don't call Abigail.
And this is Abs. So yeah, that's basically us. We drink together.
What's the name of your agency?
My agency. Man. The Boom Boom Room. Our concept was combining high art with the lowest forms of marketing. The color red, breasts, and oil painting. I convinced my partners to reinvest some of our profits in an even more high-concept cultural incubator called Thin Air. The artists were happy, the clients were happy. I was financing a group of poets in East Revachol who were developing a new universal poetic language. But then it all went to shit.
Sounds intriguing. What say you, Art Cop? If it sounds like it makes no sense, that's because it doesn't.
Man, mixing high and low, commodifying culture, that is extremely my shit.
I know! It was fucking awesome! Too bad I went on a jog, unleashing a cascade of doom that washed it all away. Tequila, it's a verifiable tragedy. It was practically brand new. Sure, it didn't really go with my Lycra threads, but it did itch a lot less. Say, you're a detective, right? Maybe you can help old Doom Spiral out. Solve the case of the missing jacket. What do you say, Tequila?
Wait, you're asking a police officer to help find a jacket you stole and then lost.
Yeah, exactly. You're here to serve, right?
Alright, sure, where'd you lose it?
If I knew where I lost it, don't you think I'd have it? I mean, maybe I was up by the boardwalk, or walking along the beach, or checking out the abandoned fish market.
That's a lot of places.
Somewhere north of here, that's for sure. You could ask around, see if anyone's seen it. What? You've never seen 100% Lycra before? Go on, feel that primo material.
You really shouldn't touch it.
I'll just admire it from afar, thanks.
That might be the right idea. This here is one of the last of its kind. Should probably be in a museum, honestly. Can't get it anymore. It was too primo, even for Grodd.
Wow, you're lucky. He never lets me feel it.
That's because your paws are fucking filthy, Rosemary. We're right next to the bay. You could wash them any time. I'm all ears, Tequila. You too, Tequila Sunset.
The noxious odor emanating from the drunken man is strong and familiar.
Don't you call her? Yeah! Don't call Abigail!
I am the law.
You really don't have to. Besides, he won't understand you anyway.
Abigail. Oh, Abigail.
Alright, who's Abigail?
Uh-huh. Abigail. Don't you fucking call Abigail.
Abigail is his wife or girlfriend. Chances are she's gone. Calling her wouldn't make it any better or worse. You're not going to get anything out of this guy. He's too drunk. Never thought you'd see such a thing in your life. But this guy's a little too drunk.
Why shouldn't I call Abigail?
He snorts and beckons you to lean in closer.
Lean in.
Don't call Abigail. Don't call Abigail.
Alright, walk away.
Don't call Abigail.
Sounds like he doesn't want us to call Abigail.
Good to see you, friend. Do I have deals set up for you, buddy boy? So what do you want? I've got smokes. They're cheap. Very cheap. I've got Pilsner. Great deal. You won't get a better deal on that piss. Spirits I can let go for 300 real. I also have speed. And by speed, I mean amphetamine.
Quite the business venture.
Oh. The system's been good to old Rosemary here, and I'm milking her like a bitch goat in the backyard. You see, friend, man makes his own luck, and I made mine real good. Got my hands on 3 bottles of liquor ex-squeeze, sold 2 to the fellows around here, and immediately invested the profit. Bought cigarettes, bought beer, even bought a bit of speed. And look at me now, I've got everyone on my hook. Of course, of course, of course. It is what it is, you know. What it's always been. People, buddy boy. It's the people.
Okay, so why does the spirit cost 300 real?
See, friend, it's real valuable. Worth every real, if you catch my drift. Got it from a bit of a business venture.
Nod, let him speak.
You know, it's funny, actually.
He's finding it difficult to focus his watery gaze.
What is?
What?
I mean, what? What did you think was funny earlier?
This guy, this guy.
Conversation might bring a discount, no?
Where'd you get the bottle of spirits from?
Oh, this is medicinal spirits. The good stuff. Got it from the doctor's office. I got one of those scientific ampoules a few months ago. Torpedo, they call it. It's supposed to keep a man from taking a drink. Didn't stop me for shit, that's for sure. 5 lemons with half a pack of butter and you're good to go.
Good tip, I should remember it.
It really isn't. In a week, the goddamn kidneys started giving me all kinds of help. Finally, the missus took me to a private doctor's office. Not a charity, the real thing. Those arseholes charged me 4 real to remove the damn thing. But I came out on top after all.
Have they no shame taking money for a service they provide?
But the idiots left me alone in there. Now, I used to teach high school biology. I know what doctors use to preserve dead fingers. Like 3 cans of this blue medicinal stuff from the back
Oh
room.
my god.
Threw the snakes out and voila. What's left is this beautiful blue stuff.
That
98.7% almost pure alcohol.
that'll kill you. You can't drink 98% pure alcohol.
2 I already sold to these fine gentlemen here. But this last one is yours for 3 real, if you want it. 3 real and it's yours, friend. The deal of a lifetime.
That's a much more reasonable price right there. Makes sense now.
Just make sure to enjoy that one, friend. Aye, by amphetamine I mean speed.
I think you didn't hear me when I said I'm a police officer.
Sure did, buddy boy. That's why I said amphetamine. I mean speed. I mean amphetamine. I got both.
Right, got
Good,
it.
good, my man. Now what can I offer you? In the civilised world, it's a custom to tip the shopkeep, friend. But come back anyway.
Where's my mouse? There you are. That's a useful tool we'll use later.
Tequila Sunset. I do. But as you can see, my fuel tank is running quite low. If you catch my drift.
Got some Commodore Red.
Classy. The tale I'm about to tell you is an urban legend particular to Martinez. That said, I first heard it from a former bicycle courier in Coran.
So I've only ever heard the one story from him. So now we're going to hear what his second story is.
There are many variations on the basic story, and the details often conflict. What everyone agrees on is that nobody knows the exact nature or identity of the phenomenon.
Are you telling the story of the headless...
Shut the fuck up, Rosemary. Summer of 44. 17-year-old Gertrude Het is walking home from a late shift at the harbor. It's almost midnight. She stops for a cigarette near the canal.
The streets are warmed by a southerly breeze. The lights of a passing motor carriage bloom and fade in the distance. In the harbor's dark, her cigarette is a beacon, dancing alone. The image comes to you effortlessly, as though you'd walked the same streets yourself 1,000 times.
Our heroine finds herself enjoying the peace and quiet the canal provides. What she doesn't know is that her peace is about to be shattered. Clattering of hooves. Startled, she turns around, and what does she see?
A horse?
Well, yes, but it's the man on the horse that's of interest here. A man with no head on his shoulders, wearing a found tracksuit, searching for the legendary found cap that went missing when he lost his head.
I thought the headless fallen rider rode a bull. Show him the figurine.
I thought that he rode a headless pig.
Well, there are many versions of this story, the most peculiar of which has the headless found rider riding on the back of another headless man.
That's super spooky.
Yes. According to legend, young Gertrude Het had to endure years of psychotherapy before she was able to look at a horse or tracksuit again. And she's one of the lucky ones. Gertrude Het may have been the first to witness the headless found rider, but she wasn't the last. Oh no.
Oh.
Tell him about the two feminists by the locks.
Fuck, Rosemary, they were dating. No one said they were feminists. Everyone always misremembering this stuff.
This wouldn't be the De Ponte Delgado case, would it?
What? You know it.
I've read the case file, but please, go on.
Right. Early autumn of 46. Ula DuPont and Eva Delgado are fishing near the waterlock long after the sun has set. The wind picks up. A sky already dark now blackens. Water starts falling from above. The first cold rain of the season.
He's actually a good storyteller, though.
Two women stand on a small outcropping of rocks. One of them is wearing a purple raincoat. Thin lines reach out from the rods into the sea. Small droplets start appearing on the surface with increasing frequency.
The women are caught in the downpour. They act quickly. Eva gathers the rods whilst Ula turns around to reach for the tackle box.
Don't turn around. Don't turn around.
When she sees something, Her shriek is so violent that the residents of the nearby apartment building believe lightning has struck. But there is no lightning. Only a heavy downpour and the silhouette of the headless Falm Rider looming on the horizon. Ula makes a run for the shore, but Eva slips on a wet rock and disappears into the cold, cold canal with nary a sound. Her body is never recovered.
What did the case file say?
Naturally, Ula de Ponte became the prime suspect in the disappearance of Eva Delgado. De Ponte maintained that it was the so-called headless fallen rider and that she ran, fearing for her life. During the investigation, it became apparent that there was a love triangle, the third party being some small-time businessman. I don't remember the exact details. The leading theory was that an argument broke out on the jetty and De Ponte pushed Delgado into the canal, then cooked up this stupid cover story.
Was she arrested?
No, she committed suicide before she could be taken into custody. They found her in the bathroom with a rifle, her face slowly peeling off the ceiling.
Ugh, Jesus.
Not a pretty scene.
Oh.
Man, that's some grisly detail. Oh well, here's to another case closed. Anyway, that's the story of the Headless Falm Rider. Pretty crazy, huh?
Who was he before he died?
Well, Tequila, that's part of the legend. No one knows for sure. There are a couple of possibilities, though. Some say he was an undercover cop who blew his cover and got beheaded by the vicious gang he had infiltrated. Now he rides, searching for his lost-found cap, plotting revenge.
O headless brother, where art thou?
Others claim he was a professional jockey who veered off course during a steeplechase, ended up in somebody's backyard, and got decapitated by an exceptionally taut clothesline. Personally, I think he was just some guy who hanged himself from a really tall tree, and the fall was so violent that his head came clean off. Coincidentally, at that exact moment, a horse happened to pass under him, and his beheaded corpse mounted it, where it remains to this day. But then, no one really knows.
For some reason, this does strike you as the most plausible theory of them all.
Alright, I gotta agree. Your theory sounds the most plausible.
Isn't it? All the pieces fit together perfectly. That's how I know it's right. Anyway, to each his own. You want to hear any other stories?
I've got an even crazier story, apparently.
Yeah? Why don't you go eat shit, Tequila? There's no way you know a better one than that.
Cold Mama Dakwa.
I have to admit, that's pretty high concept. Still not as awesome as a headless rider in a found tracksuit, though.
Alright, well, what became of him?
No one knows. Some say he stalks Martinez to this day, and can be seen near the canal when the clock strikes midnight.
He won't, though, because it's just a stupid legend.
Aye, I saw him one night when I was right shit-faced.
A drop in temperature, an easy flow of air, an empty street. Before you, a thoroughfare unjammed with lorries. No more drivers smoking on hitch steps. Just silence. Chemically sweetened. Across the road, a forgotten bus stop. Corrosion has opened a hole in its roof. An elm tree watches over the building. Its branches are dripping with rain and snow. The road is smooth and motley. Craters filled with a black asphalt. The asphalt, first laid, is grey already. A row of tenements are under construction in the distance. A tub warm with water, white with soap. A man bathes while radio waves transmit the lottery numbers. 4, 18, 21, 4, 1. A modern washing machine rattles a drawer full of silverware. His boyfriend is on his way home. He brings tins of meat and vegetables with him. Their pockets are heavier with money, but only slightly. Number 312D. Young girls used to come here, huddled up, hoping for more warmth than their thin coats give them. The bus took them to school. It has not run for 8 years. There were not enough girls to sustain its cost. Craters pocked the surface. Children played in them until heavy trucks full of black pitch rolled in. The landowners have filled the craters with money. It is a vital artery of the flow of trade. There's one bump on the road. A dead dog lies flat about 200 paces away, right at the turn. Tragedy comes from the wheels of a fast RCM vehicle, hurrying to work. The cold washes over you. The sound of the sea has grown distant. The wind moves the aerosol. A detective stands behind the boom barrier. A breeze moves a curl of his hair.
It's almost snowy. I thought that might be the jacket he was looking for. Didn't let me pick it up before, so it must be.
Tequila Sunset. Ah, tequila. I knew you'd come through. That's fucking great, man. Let me see. What? This isn't my jacket. My jacket was beautiful. This is fucking filthy. What am I supposed to do with this? I'm not taking a disgusting pile of oboe rags. I may be in an irrecoverably decaying orbit, but I've still got standards. Either bring it back the way it was before, or find a dumpster to burn it in.
You know, despite the guano, it looks like the jacket itself is stain resistant. It may just need a good scrubbing.
Okay. Wash the dirty jacket. What's this bench?
The worn and beaten wooden planks of the bench do not look overly comforting.
We can sit on benches after we've solved the murder. Let's go.
Alright, I think there's a place I can wash it in my room. Can I ask you to wash it for me?
The old woman still sits. The buzz of electric lights blends together.
Yes, I can't really sleep anymore. Only a few hours a night. It happens when you grow older. My suggestion is, don't grow any older than you already are. That's old enough.
Ah.
What's troubling your mind?
Can you wash this jacket for me?
I can wash it for you, but it's going to take about a half an hour. Think you can stay put for that long?
Oh, that's perfect.
Hell yeah.
I could use a breather. It's been another track and field day.
Well, hand it over then, and I'll see what I can do. Must say, I'm proud of this one. It's pretty nice underneath all that filth. I hope you take better care of it than its last owner.
About the document, Everett plans to muscle you up with construction noise.
Huh? I like to see him try. If anything, I am gonna muscle him out with construction noise.
That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. She doesn't seem surprised by this sudden twist.
Get out of here, trying to ruin my day. And that youth center better be a good one, or you'll have trouble from me.
Trouble out.
I wield an army of drunks. Do not underestimate the effect of such a force if it's pointed to the right direction.
Fair enough. Alright, what's this jacket look like now?
Tequila Sunset. My jacket?
A look of consternation crosses the man's face. He looks at you, then at his bottle, then back at you.
What the fuck are you talking about, Tequila?
You're saying this isn't your jacket?
Faun? That's medium concept stuff, not my style at all. I can't believe I'm saying this, but maybe you should lay off the booze. It's fucking with your head.
Oh my god.
It becomes abundantly clear to you how this man managed to lose his keys, business, friends, and girlfriend. I'm calling it. It's neurological.
Alright.
That shit is so medium concept, I wouldn't touch it with a stick. But yeah, okay. I'm sure it looks great on you.
It's an okay jacket, if you are into that look. Okay, let's step aside for a second. I have something I want to talk about.
Was it how I'm gonna wear this sick-ass jacket and it's gonna look great on me? Ooh, buddy! Look at that, I have phone, cap, windbreaker, and gloves. Oh my god, that's so cool.
I've been meaning to have a little chat with you about your sense of style.
My style, Kim.
It's, well, a little eclectic, don't you think? How would you even describe what you're wearing?
Eclectic is for pop music with indigenous percussion. You're a sartorial maverick.
Superstar casual.
Well, I can't say it doesn't fit you. Still, you might try branching out a little. You know the expression, the clothes make the man. The right outfit in the right situation can make all the difference in the world.
I'm not gonna insult him. I'm gonna call him a sharp-dressed man.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves, detective.
A warm smile.
Aw, he liked being called well-dressed.
Anyway, we should probably get back to the case. Let's go.
Alright, I need to kill 7 months. I can talk with you about.
Yes? Excuse me? You have a distinctive way of walking. If I were to walk in front of you, we would surely collide. I hope you don't take this the wrong way. It's just a collegial observation. In the 57th, we call it the Jamrock Shuffle. Officers from Jamrock's 41st Precinct tend to move a bit erratically. They say it's a scene-clearing technique developed by one of your lieutenants for gathering evidence. It's erratic, yet thorough. Prioritizes containers.
I do prioritize containers when I'm exploring.
Yes, but containers contain things. Shiny
That's
things.
racist. I don't
They're
prioritize
interesting.
containers. Okay then.
He simply nods. Passing along frivolous interdepartmental stereotypes is not usually his oeuvre. He regrets bringing it up.
Tequila Sunset. I actually do have one. The strangest of them all. Do you have anything to fortify old Doom Spiral? Tell me you got some story juice. If you find any, I'd be extremely grateful.
What? It stopped snowing.
Please do not give them the blue stuff. Do not.
No, I'm not gonna give him blue stuff. I don't want him to kill himself on fucking embalming fluid.
Yes? No response. He just arches his brow. He's having trouble processing it, believing it even.
Have you tried concentrating on something other than your personal affairs?
There is a sudden, harsh edge to his voice, like he's tired of hearing about your personal affairs.
Focus on other people's troubles, not your own. That is a relief.
Your heart beats twice like a fist. The serotonin deficiency makes your teeth. The lieutenant glances at his electronic wristwatch. A moment passes.
Alright, perfect. 2200. Let's go! Hi, Pacific.
Put your hands where I can see them. Show me your hands. This is the pigs. Show me your hands. Right now! Show me your hands! Right now!
Scavenged, battery-powered police lights protrude from her back. The flickering light show reveals a gun in her shaking hand. Her hand is trembling from some sort of neurodegenerative disease.
Madame, please drop the firearm immediately.
You shouldn't be here. Something's very wrong with her. She's completely out of control.
The man appears to be pulling out an object from his pocket. Fear under threat! Fear under threat! Superseding event. Split-second decision. Get on the ground! Get on the goddamn ground! Subject yourself to a full body cavity search. Prohibited materials concealed in nostrils, ears, mouth, navel, urethra, foreskin, vagina, and rectum.
In her mind, the cavity search is happening, as long as she's saying it. It appears the things she says are very real to her.
Be careful, detective. Don't do anything that might set her off.
It's the goddamn police shitbag! Out the pavement! You're under arrest!
As she waves her hands, you notice familiar-looking ampoules and packets sticking out of the mountain of police gear on her back. Medicine or drugs? She thinks she's a police officer. Try treating her like a police officer, a lower-ranking police officer.
What? Sir?
In this moment of hesitation, she almost doesn't seem disturbed, but like someone suddenly wakened from a deep sleep.
Officer compromise, unlawful impersonation, pigs en route, engage your will.
Okay, she's actually more agitated now. My bad.
Officer in need of assistance! Suspect alert! Get on the ground!
Ma'am, please. We want to help you, but you need to lower that weapon.
Disturbance reported. Authorized deadly force. Sector, take the shot! Big red key! Big red key! Confiscated contraband. Restricted access. 2 kilos missing. Eyewitness report compromised.
I don't think she's on drugs. Being off drugs might actually be the problem here.
She's frantic,
Ooh, I
confused,
failed that.
teetering under all that gear. There's an opening if you just move fast enough. If not, the lieutenant's got her in his sights.
Gun, I'm coming.
Suicide by cop. Split-second decision. Eat lead, scumbag.
God, I almost blew her head off.
What is this? This isn't police issue. Police weapons have bullets. This isn't real. Police guns always have bullets. What is this? Why did you sell me this?
She looks devastated. Grab the gun, right now. This might be your only chance.
No one ever cares anymore. Why would they treat me like this?
This linden-headed machine of pain and undignified suffering is grinding to a halt. Tired of walking the desert, it doesn't want to feel or think anymore.
Poor woman. We need to figure out what to do with her now.
Nobody's ever around. Nobody ever comes to visit me.
She's in a stupor. I've seen this before. God knows for how long. Could be days when they get like this.
Why like this in the first place?
Honestly, I don't know. Dementia, probably. Dementia and Channel 8. And loneliness.
Loneliness.
Yeah. Looks like a bad case. But the question is what to do with her right now.
Her scratched skin is warm to the touch, but the person inside doesn't even know you're there.
Should we arrest her?
I don't think there's any need for that. In her current state, and without the gun, she isn't really a threat to anyone. We could let Titus know. This is a perfect problem for the local peacekeepers to handle. They might even know her family.
Yeah, Titus.
Then we can ask him once we get back to the whirling. But we have to hurry, because it's late, and they might have already gone home. But I think we're done here for now. Let's head out. This is done.
Please, leave the radio on.
Reflex to what? Being left alone? She stands motionless, just a heap of clothes and flashes now. Maybe if you search her once more.
Search her for-
The woman stands slumped. She looks catatonic under her mountain of RCM paraphernalia. Is one of those things a police cap? There were narcotics in there too. You're thinking of taking them? Do.
Confiscate the narcotics. Wink. No, pick up the RCM cap.
She doesn't even flinch as you reach out and disentangle the familiar-looking lieutenant's cap from her mountain of RCM paraphernalia.
Oh, is that yours?
It's hard to say. It's been so long since you wore yours.
Maybe. Probably. You know me.
It's your hat.
The old woman doesn't react to your touch.
Leave her be. Yeah, plus 130. Put on my cool jacket again. Oh yeah, I look much cooler now. This is a superstar cop if I've ever seen one.
The Coppernado is back. What do you want? that, copper? You want us to help little old ladies now?
You're local law enforcement, aren't you? Helping troubled civilians should fall under your jurisdiction.
Yeah. We'll send someone out. Who is? Wait. It's the pigs, isn't it?
Yup.
God. Poor lady. Don't worry. We'll handle this. I think she got some family in Kurong or something. Bastards left her alone when she got sick. We've been getting complaints.
Hey, wasn't Everard's B team looking for her the other day? They said something about her, I don't know, finding something?
Yeah, I think you're right, Gene. She have something of yours, Pig?
Whatever you do, do not admit to these punks you lost your gun. You will suffer if you do.
Yeah, she had my gun.
You absolute fool.
You're fucking with me. Your gun. She had your fucking gun?
Sure did, boss. Heard him loud and clear. The pigs lost his gun to the pigs.
Well, at least I can see you got it back. If you have any questions.
Who was she?
Walls, like before. Just an old lady. Her kids moved away years ago. Never come to visit. Never took her calls. She gets out every now and then. She did right by lots of us when we were kids. Always was a little off, but still.
Us kids? That must have been ages ago. She was better then. The children kept her together.
Get wanted to be a cop, you mean? Well, shit. I don't actually know. Anyone know why she started acting like a pig?
No fucking clue. It's gotta be the crazy. Who'd want to be a pig?
Law enforcement is a respectable occupation, sir.
Respectable professions don't shoot kids, Cerdo. They don't beat confessions out of prisoners.
Easy there, Al. Sit down. We got one of our own to take care of, so let's not get worked up.
Thanks for helping with this one,
No
Titus.
problem, old cop man. We take care of our mentally ill here in Martinez. Ain't that right, boys?
Sure enough, we're the real heroes on these streets.
Alright, time for some communism. How long do you want to stay up, Becca?
It's only 10, so I can go for at least another hour or two.
Okay. Probably do this side quest then and call it. Don't know how long it takes. I've never done the political side quests before, so.
As you approach the metal grill, you can hear several voices having what appears to be an animated discussion. This must be it. Beyond this door lies the beating heart of radical communism in Martinez. Somehow, the night air softens the smell of trash and sea brine. As the breeze pulls through the canvas like a shuttle through a loom, you catch a hint of something unexpected. Something earthy, warm, and burnt. The acrid smell of failure. No, that's just slightly burnt coffee. A smell you would recognize anywhere.
Just look at these pigs sniffing about after hours. Must have slipped my mind. You know how it goes.
The metal grill is cool to the touch. You notice the lieutenant is looking uncustomarily anxious. His posture is rigid. His right hand hovers near the zipper of his jacket.
Oh, I'm fine. I was practically born to infiltrate underground communist cells. Which is just to say, we should be prepared for any eventuality.
The clang of metal reverberates all along the scaffolding. The voices coming from the other side fall silent. A pair of frightened hares cowering in some dark crevice of their burrow.
Who's there? Is that you, Maurice?
You all communists? I'm looking for some communists.
Who said communist? Did we say communist? Get out of here.
I've already built 0.0001% of communism.
For a moment, silence. A slight sensation of static electricity as before a storm. A miniature conference is taking place inside, and you are the subject.
What's the passphrase?
Oh shit, what was it? It's this one, right?
There's no response. You begin to wonder whether they've slipped out some back way. No, they're still there. You can feel them back there.
Alright. The key's taped to the back of the door frame. Just make sure you put it back when you're done, or we'll all be locked out. And do watch the concrete. It just kind of falls away, in places.
Charmant. After you, detective.
Have fun at your underground meeting, pig. Hope it's a blast.
Thanks, Cindy. She's so considerate and nice. I should maximize, I think, any kind of like logic skill. You're plus. Rhetoric seems like a good one.
There better not be no racism against Kim.
Nah, they won't. It's the fascism quest that you have to lean into the racism. Sure, we'll go with that one. Up our logic there. Alright. Looking pretty stylish. Sort of. I still have not found another pair of pants, like, anywhere. I still only have the one pair of pants.
The two young men are either oblivious to or ignoring your entrance. Their attentions are fixed on whatever it is they're stacking in the middle of the floor. Matchboxes, it appears.
I think it's holding, Alexis.
It is. It's holding.
It's definitely not holding. Those matchboxes are stacked so haphazardly, it's like they want them to collapse.
Careful, careful. Damn, hardly any difference. You two, you are late.
Not that late.
They should know the meeting starts at 10 p.m. sharp.
Well, I had to get my gun back.
One leader and one follower. The most ancient power dynamic. There's a great deal of tension in this young man's shoulders, more than someone his age should bear. Meanwhile, his companion inclines toward him, eager to catch every word that dribbles from his friend's mouth.
That's the whole point, of course. We can't just have anybody waltzing in here. Martinez is crawling with reactionary infiltrators. To say nothing of Gotwaldians and iconoclasts.
The young man's companion reflexively snorts at the mention of Gotwaldians and iconoclasts.
We all have to take precautions, especially during these delicate times. What matters is that you've made it, and that you've done the reading.
Uh-oh. No one said anything about reading. You'll just have to win this one.
Kim, did you do the reading?
No, detective. The only reading I've been doing is right here.
He seems to be wagging the notebook at you, as though he suspects you may have forgotten why you're here.
I don't know why, but the music in the game seems to have increased.
I have not.
Turn it down a little bit.
It doesn't sound like they've done the reading, Steban.
Well, this is getting awkward. I'm not sure what you're expecting to find here then.
There's profound consternation in his voice. You suspect it's about something bigger than your not having done the reading.
Maybe they can explain themselves.
The young man frowns at the little pile of boxes on the floor.
Nothing, just messing around until the meeting started.
They're watching those matchboxes awfully intently for two guys who are just messing around. It's almost as though they were trying to create the most unstable structure they could, with predictable results.
In the most generous sense, I would say we're cultivating revolutionary consciousness.
Yes, that's probably the best way to describe it.
But more specifically, we are running a reading group. The most rigorous and theoretically advanced materialist reading group in Martinaise.
Ooh, theoretically advanced.
Comrade Steban is a great discussion leader. One of the best at the university.
It's obvious they take this group of theirs extremely seriously. Whatever you do, don't compare it to a common book club. Yawn. Can you imagine anything duller than a bunch of Beano-clads yanking each other's knobs?
Oh, shut up, Half-Life. Sounds like a place for intense intellectual engagement. Exactly my kind of jam.
That's our whole thing. The world is so shallow, all noise and repetition. We're interested in genuinely radical critique.
Precisely. We are not interested in senseless parroting. We like to read critically.
Within the contours of Mazovian historical materialism, of course.
Huh. As though you can call that problem teaching.
One thing you learn quickly at university is that you're not going to find a real education in any lecture hall or discussion seminar.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We are post-attendance, basically.
Uh-huh. Dropouts.
Exactly. The only worthwhile part of the so-called École Normale de Revachol is the library. That's where we've made our greatest critical strides.
I'm not gonna arrest them for truancy.
We study all the foundational texts of Mazovian theory, of course. Just last week we finished the second volume of Puncher and Watman's Innocence of Capital.
Truly extraordinary.
And before that we spent 6 weeks on State and Plasm.
Uh-oh. You can feel your attention span rapidly deteriorating.
Force yourself to keep listening.
We've also read Wertmüller's The Megastructure of History, and before that, Real and Reality.
Communist theorists love puns, in case that wasn't obvious.
Hablars
Classic
infernal.
puns.
The original Fisdale translation, not that watered down revisionist garbage.
Obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
But, of course, our special emphasis is on the theories of Ignace Nilsson and his followers, especially the inframaterialists.
I know who Krasmazov is, but who is this Ignace Nilsson?
Only Krasmazov's most trusted lieutenant, the evangelist of the revolution, and the founding father of the People's Republic of Samara.
It's hard to overstate how unimpressed he is that you've never heard of this world historical individual.
He also happens to be the greatest communist theorist after Mazov himself. It was Nielsen who first postulated the existence of ideological plasm, which forms the basis of inframaterialist theory.
Plasm, huh? Sounds like a hell of a drug. You might want to ask about it. The young man sighs. His companion looks about furtively.
What do you mean? This is the reading group.
Two's all you need. Me and Kim are the same way.
Kim and I.
We're in something of a rebuilding phase.
Some of our former comrades didn't have the ideological fortitude our work demands.
That's what happened to me.
Intellectual attrition is maybe the best way to describe it. Felix said he couldn't keep up with the reading on top of his classwork. And Susanna wanted to read text other than Mazovian theory. Like novels, if you can believe it.
Imagine the audacity of wanting to read a novel in a reading group.
Novels. Unbelievable. Shake your head.
See? Even a gendarme gets it.
We've tried recruiting new members, but unfortunately the current intellectual climate is pretty hostile to inframaterialist thought. These days, if you're on the left, the ascendant schools are the Gottwaldians and their iconoclasts.
Don't forget about Maurice and the turnips.
Ah, yes, of course. Maurice and the turnips.
Right. Then there was the whole turnip debacle.
Whatever this turnip business is about, one thing is perfectly clear. These young students have a much deeper understanding of communism than you do. You could learn a thing or two from them. If you can convince them, you're one of them.
See something about turnips?
It's an unfortunate story. You see, our ex-comrade Maurice is something of an economist.
He's studying macro and microeconomics.
Well, a real intellectual, it sounds like.
Right. So a few weeks ago we were discussing the extra physical capabilities of the revolutionary state. And Maurice said... What were his exact words, Ulex's?
It was unbelievable. He said, turnips don't care if they are grown by communists, moralists, or Vulcan. They grow just the same.
Basically, he was rejecting the whole foundation of inframaterialist theory.
So, is their theory that you can grow turnips better if you're a communist?
What is this inframaterialist business they keep blathering about? You've never heard of anything like it.
Simply that under suitably revolutionary conditions, crop yields naturally increase relative to non-revolutionary crops, which Morris somehow has the gall to deny.
Somehow he has the gall to deny this, yes, okay.
Susanna said that he has been hanging out with some non-communists lately.
Ooh, don't hang out with those non-communists.
For us, the question boiled down to, if you don't even accept the basic ideas of Nielsen and inframaterialist theory, why are you in the reading group?
I totally understand. I don't understand at all. I love how those are two equal options. Yeah, I totally understand.
Of course you do. It's pretty basic stuff. Well, it wasn't so much that he was expelled.
He just quit coming. We haven't seen him around for weeks.
Is Cindy part of the group?
Cindy is... how to describe her role?
Something of an ideological auxiliary, perhaps.
Yes, that's exactly how I would put it. And naturally, we support her radical counter-liberal aesthetics.
But she refuses to submit an essay, so we can't call her a member of the group per se.
That doesn't stop her from using the room for studio space, of course. They're the most depressing school of communism. They love writing long books with a patina of Mazovian theory to cover up their cheap psychologizing.
A gang of cheap psychologists and intellectual midgets. Typical Gottwalders, in other words.
It's okay for Uli to say that, because his dad is from Gottwald.
Okay, what's
the Gottwald school believe that intellectuals as a class are capable of sparking revolutionary change. So all they can do is critique capitalism from inside itself.
In other words, they have lost faith in their own relevance.
That's why they spend all their time smoking cigarettes and writing long works of criticism that make you want to commit suicide.
That sounds miserable.
It is miserable. That's probably why they're always committing suicide.
Alright.
You see, the Gottwald school look like communists. They talk like communists. But scratch the patina and you'll see beneath that they're just depressed liberals who've read too many books.
I see. About the Iconoclasts.
For starters, they love talking about beans.
What's wrong with beans? I like beans.
Oh, sure. But Iconoclasts are obsessed with beans. They love thinking about beans. They love counting beans. But most of all, they love building models to predict how many beans there'll be in the future.
Yeah.
They're by far the most bean-centric school of communism.
I can't believe that's a real line.
Ah yes, the much maligned bean counters, ensconced in their think tanks and high-rises, believing they can save the world through a series of incremental, assiduously technocratic reforms.
See? You're already falling for that scarcity logic. You start off assuming there aren't enough beans to go around. So naturally you want to cut the bean rations in half. And next thing you know, there are budget cuts, so now we've got to cut the bean rations in half again. You see, Iconoclasts claim to be communists, but in reality they're just liberals with hard-ons for spreadsheets.
What about liberals? Are they liberals too?
Of course not. The only people who actually call themselves liberals are mouth-foaming reactionaries.
Of course.
Basically indistinguishable from fascists. You'd need an X-ray machine to tell the difference.
Go ahead.
Is the reading group accepting new members? Let's talk about the lynching first.
Lynching? No. We're not an operational cell.
We think of ourselves as more of an intellectual vanguard.
Are you affiliated with the union?
No, we're an independent organization. We acknowledge and respect the union's efforts, but our interests are more theoretical than Mr. Clare's.
And what's your stance on lynchings?
Our stance? What? Do you want to know if the SRV has established a party line on the lynchings in Martinez?
Though historically speaking, the SRV has supported direct action against right-wing paramilitary squads, especially when they are doing the Indo-tribes' dirty work.
Good point. So as a provisional matter, I can say we support it.
Are they being sarcastic? You feel like you're caught in some elaborate joke labyrinth, but it's impossible to see your way through. It's always that way. Beneath the crust of irony, there's a molten sincerity that threatens to erupt forth. You may witness it yet.
Alright, so what's your stance on crime in general?
That's easy. Crime is simply the inevitable expression of the injustice and incoherence embedded within capitalism itself. It's a symptom, in other words, not a cause.
His companion can barely suppress a yawn.
No, unfortunately, the communards were hunted down and killed nearly to a man. All that's left of them are bones and old rifles.
Oh, that's too bad.
It's a world historical nightmare, one from which we've yet to awaken.
Do it, Dipper.
Don't do it, Dipper.
When will you wake up? And what will you see when you do? A moment of silence. They're waiting for you to speak.
Alright, so you're accepting new members.
We typically only accept new members once per semester. There's this whole process with essays and presentations on assigned topics. But given that we have some extra seating at the moment, I guess we could be convinced to expedite an application or two.
Steban, you can't be serious. For these gendarmes?
I am serious. As materialists, we've got to adapt to conditions as they are. Besides, he'll still need to pass the interview portion of the entrance process. Assuming he's even still interested, that is.
There's a 18 or 17% chance. Let's convince him.
Is it getting warm in here? There seems to be a little pool of sweat forming in the depression of your lower back.
I'm not nervous, I'm a superstar.
Oh, totally. A superstar breaking out in a cold sweat.
Why is this happening? I thought I had my shit together.
You did. You must be extremely nervous for some reason. Let's be frank. They're probably way smarter than you. You bet they've read more books than you can even name. Of course, if you're nervous, it wouldn't hurt to read another book or two. The hardest part will just be working up the nerve to ask without soiling yourself.
Everything all right, gendarme? You look a little green about the gills. Sure, we're here most every night.
Sleep well, gendarme.
Under the cobblestones, communism. No war but class war. I got so many thoughts. Could it be the Phasmid? Anything else in here? Yeah, this. Sure. Alright, composure. Let me get composure. Alright, we will level up composure once. Do I have a book to read? I don't think I do. I did read a small primer for small kids. I read this. So I read 2 books. That's pretty good. Will you accept me into
The
your
gendarme
communism
returns.
cloud now?
What do you need? Ah, yeah, it's hers. She just sort of moved it all in a few months ago.
She said if she's going to make truly radical.
Oh, god damn it, cat.
Get him. Get him, cat.
Sorry.
The gendarme returns. What do you need? Ah, yeah, it's hers.
She said if she...
And I don't think she could afford rent at an actual studio.
Alright, are you back in, Becca?
Yeah.
Alright, cool.
Oh, sure. He's definitely interesting, I would say. I guess you could call her latest stuff a sort of counter-bourgeoisie calligraphy. She's got a real taste for radical slogans.
It's too bad she hasn't developed the theoretical foundation to do truly radical work.
I think she'll get there, though. She's still looking for a subject equal to her ambitions. The deal? At a fundamental level, I guess you could call it the shattered bones of a dream crushed by capital.
A feeble and hopelessly mixed metaphor.
Thanks, Logic.
That's really good, Steban. You should save that for an essay.
Thanks, Uli. When the idea is sound, the words just sort of flow.
Yes, now keep developing the idea.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Not as good as Steban's original idea, though.
Go ahead.
Guess I haven't leveled that up yet. Okay, so my shoes help with composure, but nothing else. Leveled up composure once.
The gendarme returns. What do you need?
Alright, it's an even. I can just save skill this one, I guess.
The gendarme returns. What do you need?
Okay, you got this. You got this. Just, what are those sounds? They're like the last mumblings of a mortally wounded badger. There's nothing you can do.
Everything in order, detective? That's a yes, I take it? Can you give me an affirmative?
You're intimidated by all the books these kids have read, aren't you? Maybe a trip to the bookstore would do you some good.
Is everything all right? Is he trying to say something?
It seems he's lost his words. A case of momentary aphasia, it looks like.
It wouldn't be the first neurological episode you've experienced on this case.
True.
These things happen with him sometimes. I recommend a change of subject.
This isn't going to work. Maybe there's some other way you can prove yourself to them?
Some other way? If you're not much of a reader, why are you so dead set on joining this reading group? Oh, it is. And it only gets more disco from here. But to be perfectly frank, I just don't see it happening.
Steban, a moment.
What? Really? You're saying... But there's no way... Uh-huh. Yes. Okay. I am listening.
A note of real uncertainty in his voice.
All right, gendarme. Comrade Ulexes and I have conferred about it, and we've come up with an alternative way for you to convince us of your commitment to the group.
The young man gives his companion an uncertain glance. The companion nods his head vigorously.
I want you to hit me.
Hit you?
Doesn't have to be a hard hit. Just enough to leave a mark. The idea is to show Maurice and those other traitors that we are the only reading group hardcore enough to tangle with the RCM.
You've done it before, and against a much tougher opponent. You'll make mincemeat of this fool's jaw.
Easy, detective. No need to treat this kid like he's some son of Measurehead.
Hey, yeah, I did that whole spin kick on Measurehead.
Of course, this isn't some punch-out competition. You just want to leave a harmless bruise. Just theorizing here. But if you don't have as much control over your muscle groups as you'd like, perhaps you could try something you know is bound to fail.
What, you're saying I could try to really lay this kid out knowing I'll probably screw it up?
Precisely. It's brilliant.
That doesn't sound like a good idea, Logic.
Assuming you don't accidentally succeed.
Kim, how bad an idea is this?
The lieutenant looks at you, then at the young man. He seems to be giving your question serious consideration.
Speaking as an officer of the RCM, it is an extremely bad idea to strike a civilian without cause. However, if one were to strike a civilian, which again I would never recommend, one should at least follow the RCM manual's guidance on non-lethal strikes.
What does the manual say?
It advises officers in physical altercations to rely on the open palm strike, as opposed to the backhand in non-lethal situations. I can't recall the exact explanation, but it has something to do with the kinetic energy stored in the elbow. Basically, you are less able to control a backhanded slap, and therefore more likely to cause serious injury. At the same time, this is emphatically your thing, so do as you will.
Well, gendarme, what are we waiting for?
Alright, so it looks like if I think I'm gonna fail, I should do this one. so hit him as hard as you can. Alright, we failed, so we succeeded.
If you were trying this against an actual opponent, it would be a meager, embarrassing effort. Fortunately, you're trying not to cause any real damage. At the moment of contact, the high-performance gripping that covers the palm of your glove causes your hand to stick for an instant against the young man's cheek. As your hand pulls away, his pale skin appears momentarily to follow with it. The young man staggers back into the couch, eyes agog and momentarily dazed, but not seriously hurt.
Woo, we succeeded by failing.
Not the best look for the RCM, but I suppose it could have gone worse.
Esteban? Are you alright?
No, keep it. I feel great, actually. Perhaps we should tangle with the gendarmerie more often.
He isn't bluffing. He appears invigorated, as though he's truly experiencing life for the first time.
Yes, this worked out quite nicely.
Okay, gendarme. You've earned your place. Welcome to the most ideologically advanced materialist reading group in Martinez. Here's your first assignment. It's an overview of inframaterialist theory. A little basic, as you'll see, but one has to start somewhere.
I'll add it to my very extensive reading list.
You're going to fit right in, I think. Come back when you're done. We'll be here pretty much every night after 10 p.m.
Well, I'm not staying here.
Do be sure to take your time with the reading. We'll be eager to hear your thoughts.
Alright, so... Interact, let's see. A brief look at inframaterialism.
The cover of this pocket-sized volume features a swirl of orange, yellow, and green. The title, A Brief Look at Inframaterialism, is set in an authoritative yet approachable serif font. What an interesting color palette. It's vibrant, yet somehow leaves you ever so slightly nauseated. On the inside jacket flap, you find a brief summary. What is inframaterialism? A highly theoretical branch of Mazovian communism? A collection of mystical ramblings by a discredited revolutionary? Or possibly both? This brief look, TM, introduces readers to one of this century's most fascinating and misunderstood theories in a concise, jargon-free manner.
So far, so
You
good.
turn to the table of contents. The guide itself is divided into several sections with seemingly esoteric titles like Effects of Plasm on Root Vegetables and Mental Projection and Transference. There's also a brief introduction about the life of Ignace Nielsen, known to his numerous admirers as the evangelist of the revolution, and to his even more numerous enemies as the apocalyptic Shrike. Ignace Nielsen remains one of the most controversial and fascinating figures to emerge in the years of the anti-centennial revolution, second only to Karamazov himself. During his unparalleled life, he helped guide a revolution in one country and found a new state in another. Along the way, he committed some of the most notorious war crimes in an era famed for its atrocities. And yet, his most fascinating contribution to history may be the most overlooked. His theory of ideological plasm, from which his followers and successors developed the school of communism known as inframaterialism. If you're like most people, you probably believe that your thoughts reside in your brain, right? That's not right at all. Thoughts don't exist in the brain. They float through the air. Your brain is but a fish swimming through them. Wrong, at least according to Ignace Nielsen. As Mazov's devoted comrade and leading theoretician, Nielsen was responsible for developing much of the intellectual foundation of communism. But his interests and speculations were famously wide-ranging. During his final years in exile, he produced, among other things, an early guide to home brewing, instructions for raising revolutionary children, plans for a universal pictographic language, and a detailed materialist critique of Dolores Day's chess strategy. A true man of ideas, equal to any of the great DeLorean polymaths. But one subject he returned to time and time again was the fundamental relationship between thoughts and matter.
Oh my god, that was loud.
We may yet discover, he wrote in his notebooks, that under certain exceptional circumstances, the proletariat's embrace of historical materialism may be so fervent that their beliefs take form in the world of matter as a kind of revolutionary plasm. Certainly, in essence, Nielsen is arguing that thoughts don't just reside inside the brain, they radiate outward from it. According to this idea, the brain is an ideological transponder, constantly emitting waves of highly politicized energy, which Nielsen called plasm. Whoa is right. What's more, Nielsen speculated that this plasm, when it becomes powerful enough, might begin to influence the material reality surrounding it. Hence the name, inframaterialism. Unfortunately, Nielsen passed away before he was able to develop these initial ideas into a full-fledged theory. That work was left to subsequent generations of communist theorists. Building on Nielsen's basic insight, these theorists reached a startling conclusion that a sufficiently revolutionary state might begin to exhibit certain extra-physical effects based on the amount of plasm generated by its citizens.
So these people are saying that if enough people just believe in communism, it will come true?
The actual theory is highly technical, but for the purposes of this brief look, TM, that's a fine working definition of the concept. That's because this is absolute idiocy, not even worth engaging with.
Love logic.
No. There's something here. You can feel it.
I didn't hear about this extra physical stuff.
Inframaterialists divide the extra physical effects of the revolutionary state by the level of plasm required to achieve them. At the lowest, or first level, revolutionary plasm is believed to stimulate or invigorate matter without altering its essential properties. To take one example, during the revolutionary period, many communard farmers in Grad reported extraordinary yields of certain root vegetables, most notably turnips. The difference in these yields was simply too great to be accounted for by mere climate or soil conditions. The only reasonable explanation inframaterialists argue is the high level of revolutionary. To say the farmers aren't just cooking the books sounds like obvious SRV propaganda. It's also been postulated that plasm may account for the remarkably full and manly facial hair observed on many communist males.
Stroke your beard proudly.
Of course, inframaterialists argue that revolutionary plasm may stimulate human physiology in other ways as well. Oh yeah, we're talking about white-hot communist sex, baby. That's correct. Reports from the revolutionary period claim that the most radically devoted communards were able to engage in vigorous intercourse for up to 8 hours at a time.
Become a communist and sex will be better.
8 hours? There's no way. Your equipment would be mashed to jelly. Hyper-productive vegetables and ultra-horny communards are fine, but this theory hasn't quite gotten strange enough for you. And on that note, you feel like you've gotten the general idea of inframaterialism, enough to carry on a basic conversation at least. But if you'd like to go even deeper into some of the more speculative aspects of the theory, you could always read further. Of course you want to go deeper. What else are you here for?
True.
The book fits quite snugly into your palm. It would also fit comfortably into a jacket pocket. You flip forward a few pages until you come upon a chapter titled Mental Projection and Transference. When a community has achieved a sufficiently high degree of revolutionary fervor, inframaterialists believe that second-level effects may be observed. At this second level, certain hyper-revolutionary individuals may even develop the ability to extend their thoughts into material space and vice versa. According to inframaterialist theory, yes. Under suitably revolutionary conditions, that is.
Okay.
Of course, one doesn't need to be a communist to be attuned to the thoughts of your brothers and sisters.
True, true. Good job, A Spirit to Corpse.
It's become something of a folk legend that during their final meeting, Nielsen and Mazov didn't speak a single word, preferring to sit in silence with their chamomile tea, reading one another's thoughts. One of the minor tragedies of the late revolutionary period is that few reliable accounts survive. Much of what we know of the communard's activities during this period come from memoirs and second-hand accounts, some only written down decades after the fact, and of dubious authenticity.
Kim, you'd say we share a pretty special connection, right?
I suppose we do work quite well together.
You and me. We're on the same wavelength. It's why we're always finished
Your
each other's.
words hang in the air as the lieutenant scribbles something in his notebook. At some point, he realizes you're waiting for him and looks up with a tightly knit brow.
Sentences.
The lieutenant looks at you evenly for a moment, then returns to his notebook without a word.
Kim, you left me hanging there.
Did I? My bad, detective. Won't happen again.
As we were saying, it's generally believed that these effects are only exhibited by certain hyper-revolutionary individuals, generally less than 0.01% of the revolutionary population. Because plasm has never been directly observed, the exact mechanism behind these effects remains entirely speculative. In other words, there's no evidence that any of this mind-reading stuff is real. Why are you getting hung up on mechanisms? Open your mind's aperture just a little wider. You're so close to true understanding. This should be more than enough for a stimulating discussion. That said, if you're still yearning for more, you must. Everyone knows books save their best parts for the end.
Of course we're gonna finish.
You breeze through the next several sections until you arrive at the final chapter, titled A Communism Above Reality. When a society's revolutionary fervor reaches the third and highest level, inframaterialist theoreticians have postulated that the laws of physics cease to be laws.
Cease to be laws.
More like suggestions, according to some of the SRV's leading inframaterialists. Of course, it's impossible to say what exactly happens under these conditions. No known society has ever achieved the levels of revolutionary enthusiasm the theory seems to require. Some inframaterialists have even argued that it might require more plasm than humanity alone may be capable of producing.
Are there non-humans?
In the SRV, there have been attempts to organize certain species of aquatic mammals, as well as a few of the higher corvids. But as of this writing, only human beings have demonstrated the intellectual capacity for revolutionary communism.
Oh God.
There are numerous stories from Samara involving bandits or fascist mercenaries being levitated by farmers from the most ideologically advanced communes. Of course, few of these incidents have ever been rigorously investigated or substantiated. Among known attempts to channel third-level capabilities, the most well-documented is the curious case of Coalition warship Debutante. It concerns an interesting series of events that took place during the invasion of Revachol. As Coalition forces made landfall, a cadre of Nielsen's most fervent acolytes attempted to compress a Coalition aerostatic with their collective will. According to Communard law, these acolytes positioned themselves at the top of a redoubt just over the Bay of Revachol. From that vantage, they proceeded to visualize pinching Coalition warship Debutante between their fingers, a gesture believed to assist in the extra-physical materialization of their thoughts. The acolytes, along with the redoubt, were vaporized in an artillery strike before the process could be completed. Picture the lot of them, all standing with their fingers in the air 1 minute, the next reduced to a bloody mist. It's been said, though, that in the weeks following the battle, the captain of the Debutante noted an increase in incidents of crewmen striking their heads on unexpectedly low bulkheads. Of course, colorful anecdotes only scratch the surface of what inframaterialists believe may be possible in a truly third-level society. Some have theorized that such a society would be fundamentally unrecognizable, lacking many of the institutions we typically take for granted in advanced societies, including organized governments, financial institutions, and law enforcement. Others have argued that people living under third-level conditions will be immune to such infirmities as hunger, disease, and mental illness. In some of his later writings, Nielsen himself speculated about the potential for an extra-physical architecture that disregards the laws of bourgeois physics instead relies on the revolutionary faith of the people for structural integrity.
That seems like a bad theory to design buildings based on.
Nielsen called it the highest expression of communist principles, a society whose literal foundation is the faith of its people. On the following page, you come across a few black and white reproductions from Nielsen's own notebooks. One sketch depicts a government ministry shaped like a great inverted pyramid, a hectare in width at the top, balanced atop foundations the size of common apartments. Another depicts a leaning tower wrapped in a dramatic helix. The caption beneath it reads, "The Tower of History." Something about that tower looks awfully familiar. Could it be that's what the students were trying to recreate with the matchboxes? In the corner of one of the reproduced notebook pages, you can make out the following words, written in Nielsen's distinctive slashing script. A state that has lost the faith of its people has forfeited the right to exist. There is no more. You've reached the outer theoretical limits of communism, and in less than 200 pages.
I read it in about 2 hours, too.
If you'd like to read further, may we recommend a brief look at Occidental architecture?
Alright, apparently I need interfacing and hand-eye coordination, so...
You're back. Yes, let's get right to it.
His companion leans forward, ready to jump in. They're impressed that you dove right into the most advanced parts of the theory. Half an hour evaporates and the conversation is still wending its way toward new and unexpected places. The cool breeze coming off the bay wraps itself around the Capeside apartments, in a nearly forgotten part of that glorified construction site, surrounded by rusted pieces of scaffolding and walls of faded tarpaulin. A detective of the RCM debates the intricacies of an abstruse theory with a pair of university students.
But my question is, where does the RCM recruit all these hyper-revolutionaries to join this remote viewers division? Fascinating.
Yes, only the detective here would draw a connection between a made-up division of parapsychics and the adult ramblings of a defunct communist mage.
But I suppose it makes sense that some common strain of inframaterialist thought would persist in the RCM, even to this day, given its origins.
Now the breeze has subsided. All is still except for the last bits of steam rising from the coffee pot.
Well, on that note, I think we can call it an evening.
No, wait. Can this really be the end? You feel like you've just gotten to the real stuff.
Yes. One of our better discussions lately, on the whole.
What do you mean, is that it? You've done the reading, we talked about it. What more do you expect from a reading group? Well, you could always ask, I guess.
He probably won't get a better chance. Honestly.
But it's getting late, so maybe pick the most important question.
The question you mean to ask is both very complicated
I
and
succeeded.
incredibly
Let's
simple.
go.
The young man waits patiently for you to finish.
Yes?
Say it.
So what's the point?
The young man considers your words for a minute. You're witnessing his ironic armor melt before you. This is his true self you're seeing now. There's something going on in there, but his innermost sanctum is still beyond your reach.
The theorist Puncher and Watman, not inframaterialists, but theorists nonetheless, say that communism is a secular version of Pericanasian theology, that it replaces faith in the divine with faith in humanity's future. I have to say, I've never entirely understood what they mean, but I think maybe the answer is in there, somewhere.
What if humanity keeps letting us down?
Nobody said fulfilling the proletariat's historic role would be easy. It demands great faith with no promise of tangible reward. But that doesn't mean we can simply give up. Especially then.
And of course, we'll be shooting right back.
So young, so unbearably young. Their faces blurred, yet frozen as though in ambrotype. You were never that young, were you?
I guess you could say we believe it because it's impossible. It's our way of saying we refuse to accept that the world has to remain. Like this. Yes, that's a good way to think of it. A work in progress. A thought can be a very powerful thing. That's the whole idea of inframaterialism.
His words aren't really directed at you. He's wrestling with himself now.
Steban, it's getting pretty late.
You're right. We should clean this up and get going.
Of course, the matchboxes. You'd very nearly forgotten to ask about them. Now may be your last chance.
So you really did read all the way to the end. Yeah, Uli and I were trying to see whether there was enough plasm between the two of us to hold up a few matchboxes.
Saying it out loud makes him realize how foolish it sounds.
It was just a little informal experiment. No reason to take it too seriously.
The young man looks at you a moment, then at his companion.
What could it hurt? All right, let's give it another go.
You know what? I'll sit this one out. I don't think you want my skeptical materialism interfering.
Before long, a modest tower begins to rise from the pile of matchboxes.
Easy, Uli.
It's holding. It's holding.
For the moment, the higher the tower goes, the quieter the room seems to become. Aside from the occasional comment, The three of you are completely absorbed by the task.
Alright, you go next, Stepan.
The young man pushes back his shirt sleeves, revealing the pale flesh of his forearms.
Is it? He's holding. He's holding.
Yes, this is the closest we've ever gotten.
It's almost exactly as Nielsen's sketch imagined, a physical manifestation of the dialectical spiral of history.
Where did they get all these matchboxes from?
Alright, gendarme. Your turn.
You've got this. Theories aside, they're only matchboxes. Even the lieutenant is watching intently now.
Ghost of Mazov, give me strength.
It's... Well, it may be that we found the outermost limit of our capabilities under the prevailing regime.
Undoubtedly.
Alternatively, it could be that our own ideological fervor is still insufficient.
Yes, the problem is almost certainly your lack of commitment, and not, say, gravity.
Harder to believe, but still possible.
Either way, that's enough parlor games for one night. Thanks for humoring us.
We should probably clean up.
Well, I think we're probably finished here, Detective.
Wait a minute. If you don't mind, we wanted to get your opinion on something. A few little changes we've been thinking about. Nothing too major, I think. We were talking potentially about relaxing some parts of our admissions process.
That's interesting. I saw people loved group interviews.
I thought so too, but perhaps we overdid it, just a little. There was another thing. We were also debating putting up some posters around town.
Though some of us maintain that advertising is an unacceptably bourgeois tactic.
That's what makes it so beautiful. The irony is unbeatable. As a noted art cop, you definitely have an opinion on this.
Ah, it makes sense. There's already a sub-theme of radical street art running through our reading group.
I suppose that makes it a historical inevitability beyond contradiction.
Plus, I've got the perfect place in mind. Put some more coffee on, Uli. We've got a long night ahead of us. We should probably get Cindy in here too. Oh, and gendarme. One last thing. About that question you asked earlier. It reminded me of a certain poem that you might appreciate.
Ah, so he has read something besides his books of abstruse theory.
It was written by a young communard who was killed on the barricades during the Coalition landings. The story goes that he wrote it on the last night of his life, keeping watch from the barricades in the middle of the night. I don't have the whole thing committed to memory, but there's a line in it I think about sometimes. In dark times, should the stars also go out? Anyway, good night to you.
Alright, finish that quest. That wasn't so bad, that was kinda neat. How you doing there, Cindy?
Hello again, officers.
Alright,
Some
good
areas were kind of,
esoteric. To put it politely. Alright, let's put on my lieutenant's hat. Oh my god. That is the silliest thing I've ever seen. What are you talking about? He looks very fetching. Look at him.
Yeah.
Fetching lad.
My goal is to max out my stats. I don't really, I guess, care about anything else. Hi, Dipper. I made that. Hi, Dipper. Get down so I can see, please. Alright, 11:15 seems like a good place to stop.
It's getting cold, this late in the night.
Good night, officer. We'll meet in front of the shack in the morning.
I'll save here.